Committee, the staff of National Assembly, my colleagues, as equally as my friends, the gentlemen of the media, good afternoon. Thank you once again for having the opportunity to be in this People's Parliament to discuss some issues affecting our work in civil aviation from the executive branch of this government. And also to say that it's a good opportunity for us. We consider coming to National Assembly equal to speaking to entire Nigeria because that is the intent and purpose of having People's Parliament, to be able to connect, to communicate with the rest of Nigerians through this medium. And to also thank you for always allowing us and indulging us in matters that affects our operations. To begin with, Mr. Chairman, as you direct, I will start with the opening of the airports. Certainly, we know all the reasons why the airport had to be closed. There was a monster that came calling on our shores, and that monster was christened COVID-19, and he was a droplet disease, and it's easily transferable or transmitted from individual to individual through contact, through touching, and through touching of faces, ears, nose, and mouth. Unfortunately, the index case in Nigeria was through civil aviation for the guy that came into Lagos. And since then, our lives have not been the same. And because we strongly believe if you want to catch a fish, you empty the water. So in our reasoning and thinking is that once we're able to cut the importation of people and goods into the country, we will significantly arrest the situation for further infectious persons coming into our country to come and bring this nasty guy. So that was achieved. We shut the airports to prevent further importation of the disease. And we began by the international airports, and we had to also close the domestics because there is interstate ban on travels. That also, we believe that where the index case started in Lagos, if you allow movement of people, they will certainly infect the entire country. And that is exactly what had happened before we locked down the states. The diseases began to spread into other areas, especially neighboring states like Ogun, Oyo, etc. And then later all the way to Kano. So yes, we locked down the airports. It wasn't by choice, it was by force. Since this force majeure act of God befell us, so our response was to close down the airports. The airport had been closed down for a little over 3 months now, and that, of course, obviously without saying, has huge impact on the health of the sector of civil aviation. We are the worst hit. All of the businesses and services are shut down for 3 months, and at a time when aviation had begun to do very well. The approved roadmap, which Mr. President approved, which I discussed with this National Assembly even before getting the approval, had begun to show good results. Aviation has taken the lead to become the fastest growing sector of the Nigerian economy today. We have moved passenger number from 8 to 18 million in 5 years. We've done quite a number of things. The sector was very vibrant. We have whet the appetite of people to begin to think that the best place to invest is in civil aviation. 200 million mobile people. That is a sector that was running at its full speed when COVID came in, and everything stopped. So it's quite painful for us. It's quite challenging for us. But of course, since it's an act of God, we thank him, and we ask him for the strength to come out of this and to once again begin the journey onto greater heights. It is our intention to continue to move civil aviation forward and to make it not the only fastest growing sector, but one of the greatest contributors to Nigeria's GDP. Within the very short time that we spent in this industry, example, we have improved the contribution to GDP to 0.6% of our national GDP. The intent for this roadmap, once it is fully implemented, is to move GDP contribution to some 5%. And of course, that is $25 billion. And that is achievable, very much so. So, Mr. Chairman, we decided to open these airports beginning from July 8th. But of course, it is very apparent that we can't open at once for obvious reasons. We have to stagger the opening. So we opened the first set of the airports on July 8th, and 3 days after July 11th, we opened another set of airports, and then on the 15th, which is also about 4 days after the second opening, we opened all other airports. This staggering is a clever way from us to be able to, one, test run the system, two, be able to improve our preparedness, three, we thought of the geo locations of these airports to ensure that the entire country is being served once we open. So we opened and started with Kano, Port Harcourt, Lagos, and Abuja. These rectangle, if you like, is the heart of civil aviation, and Owerri as well. So it's no longer a rectangle, then is it a trapezium or what is it? 5 angles. Pentagon, thank you very much. Pentagon, so, well, whatever it is, whether it's trapezium or pentagon. So we are very conscious of where the needs of the transportation is required, and subsequent, we're opening the northeast, we're opening the northwest, we're opening the southwest, and much more number of airports. So, and we are very conscious that even as we open, certain protocols must be in place and involved. For example, all of those non-pharmaceutical interventions must continue, such as, one, ensuring that you clean your hands by using hand sanitizers that are approved. Wash your hands, then use hand sanitizer, use mask, and then your temperature will be checked right there at the airport. Whoever is showing any symptoms of COVID, which is temperature, shortness of breath, and the likes, would be isolated immediately in the airport and may not be able to board that flight. So once he's isolated, his samples will be taken. And those samples, for now, they will be taken to any of the centers in NCDC to get the results. But he may not be able to board that particular flight. And inside, and once he gets access into the terminal building, then you find that all the terminal building has been marked to where you'll position or where the passenger will position himself. During the waiting, pre-boarding waiting in the halls, we have taken cognizance into the number of people that will be allowed to be in those halls. In a hall that is typically 500 people, for example, before, we'll now reduce it to about 200, 250 maximum, so that we create the 2-meter physical distancing between each other. And that is needed and required even while you board. As you're queuing to board, you also maintain that distance. And you will see that we put at the counters like a shield to shield the counter girl or counter boy from the passenger. So that has also been done. Then the constant cleaning of surfaces. The surfaces around must be cleaned around the airports. And the reason is, like I said, this guy is a droplet. So once he falls on the surface and you touch your face, you and him are in business. So ensure that we're cleaning the surfaces to make sure that even if it drops, it's been killed right there. This will now continue all the way to the boarding. As you go to board, you maintain the physical distancing of 2 meters or 6 feet from each other until when you board the flight. We are reviewing what will happen inside the cabin. We are reviewing what will happen inside the cabin once the passenger gets in there. We should be able to know what will happen once you get into the cabin in the next couple of days before we start. We have a fair idea, but we don't want to be preemptive at this moment because we are still tweaking the activity within the cabin. But for sure, we know that the crew themselves, especially the cabin crew, would have their masks on their face, and then they will also observe the protocols. The temperature will be taken before each flight. Information of how the cabin works within it. The cabin air is being circulated. I've just been reminded. So it has the lowest risk or transmission risk. This we will share while we are giving the protocols to the public. But more importantly, Mr. Chairman, we are very conscious of this disease, and we don't want to be the culprits or the source of further contaminating the country. So as far as airport opening is concerned, Mr. Chairman, and this is what we have, and we've said the reasons why we are not able to open at once, just to observe the health protocols and ensure everything is in order, and ensure that the intent and purpose is achieved for which it is done. And I'd like to also recognize the presence of 3 distinguished senators that joined us after the meeting, including the former Minister of Aviation. Thank you. The self-automated machines that will dispense tickets, which was forward-thinking by us, they're all available currently for Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and Kano. We'll be installing them as we open. We have also looked at the e-ticketing with the industry. We have a platform where we Zoom meet every now and then with the entire industry, with about 900 people participate. So we're carrying everybody along with the new normal. It's certainly a huge challenge, but it's working well, and people are getting more and more committed and more aware. We're also getting to put things in place within the airline themselves. But more importantly, also just the issue of the union and what they brought. I have been a unionist all my life somehow. Sometimes there can be some false alarms, that they bring in. The other time they were in the other chamber, the green chamber, I think, and they were complaining like training. Before I became minister, the training provision for NCA, for example, was $1 million. Today it is $5 million for this current financial year, for example. So some of the issues that they raised really have been taken care of, just so that Her Excellency would hear a bit of things that I'm going to talk about. But I will elaborate more as she leaves, and just to give her some comfort that is being looked into, and to thank her for her contribution. Thank you. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Let me start with Akwa Ibom, Uyo Airport. There has been a lot of discussions around that particular airport. So the policy of civil aviation in Nigeria today is to ensure that we support the growth and development of the sector, be it new airports opening, be it new businesses, new airline, and so on and so forth. And to say that this time around, in our projection, by the time that we leave government in 2023, God willing, we would have doubled the number of airports that we met in Nigeria, and this has never happened since amalgamation 1914. When we came in, we had 22 government-owned airports and a couple of others that are non-government airports. Today, under our watch, as I can say, confidently, we have the Lafia Airport in Nasarawa commission. We have the one in Yobe, Damaturu commission. The Wachakal Airport is coming on board. The one in Ikiti is coming on board. The one in Ebonyi is coming on board, etc., etc. There are so many airports that we're helping. The one in Benue, for example, is coming on board, and so on and so forth. So many airports are being opened in the country, and we're rehabilitating and reconstructing many, including, for example, Azere Airport for the joint user with Air Force, and so on. So by the time we leave, I am sure the airports will move from 26, 27 to about 50 airports in Nigeria by time of 2023. So we are very concerned and we're very calculative in deciding the fates of this airport to support them to become strong. In particular reference to Uyo, yes, we have opened up Uyo, but like I said, the first will be the first 4, the first 5, then the second will be the next phase of the many, and then all others. So it is from the 8th, we have Lagos, Abuja, then on the 11th we have Port Harcourt, Kano, Owerri, Maiduguri, and all others on the 15th. So that sorts it out. But you see, also, Uyo is not the only airport that is within the vicinity of the Niger Delta. You have Usubi, for example. Usubi Airport is there. It is a private airport belonging to Shell before. Later, it was transferred to Shoreline. From Shoreline now, NMPC has taken it over, and they want us to part run it. And that airport is also under consideration, and there are full flights going in there as well. So yes, Uyo is opened with the rest, and we're giving Uyo attention. And perhaps an opportunity also to discuss about the Uyo MRO that keeps coming on. Now, the MROs that we say we are setting up here in Abuja, private sector led and driven MRO, does not in any way affect or reduce the effectiveness of the Uyo MRO. The Uyo MRO is a good initiative, fantastic building put up there, the shades, but once they are able to equip it, to finish it, equip it, tool it, and then get the hands to walk in. MRO is like having a mama put, meaning the local restaurant. If she is very, in the past, I'm sure Captain Musa will remember here, and the PAMSEC, in Lagos, there used to be a lady called Iyadisi. She cooks at the end of the runway. We all fold our trousers and walk there with Captain Fola leading us. Patakop, patakop, patakop. We go in there. We eat that very good food. We come out and wash our legs and then wipe our face and go to work. Because that early morning amala with degiri at Ilishi was fantastic. So we couldn't resist. So we go there. So once we are sure, and we know ourselves, once we are sure the MRO one, very fundamentally the staff, who are the engineers? If I know, when I used to have an old car gives me problem with, I know the best carburetor mechanic in Lagos. And it's so far away in Ogba. That time Ogba was just one village. No, in fact, all of them are attached houses. I drive there inside Ogba to go there and get that my carburetor fixed. And I come back and I will be happy for at least 1 month before it will not fail again. So one, the staffing. They need to look at who is coming in there. 2, the equipment. Because, for example, in car maintenance, when you want to remove the ball joints, you see mechanics here, they use hammer. Bam, bam, bloop, it comes out. You are inducing stress into that particular component. You reduce the strength of that component. It will break faster, and it takes longer to remove. But they have puller. That puller, you just couple it, boop, within a second it comes out. But in the way we do it, so the tooling also, I need to know the tools that you have in there, the expertise. Some of the checks and tests, you do them long, but this, you can scan some of them. If I know that my engine will just go through a scan and it will be able to tell me what it is, I do all the non-destructive testing to be able to determine the integrity of my engine, rather than piecing it, the usual old way. So all of this will add up to that MRO. So we're more than happy to have, the more the merrier, because the MROs are very few in Africa. You have one in Morocco, serving Royal Air Morocco and Air France, established by Air France. You have one in Ethiopia, serving Ethiopian Airlines. They don't have space for your engine. You will queue to wait for your engine to be treated. Then you have one in Egypt for Egypt Air. who are adding 30 aircraft onto their fleet, so there's no space. Then one not very good one, not very robust in South Africa, and that's it. So if you have it right here in Nigeria, even if you have 5 in Nigeria that are very, very good, we keep receiving these engines and these parts and these airplanes to come in and these landing gears to be fixing them. So we support Anasaba Airport, which they're all private. I visited Uyo, I think, since I've become minister, like 5 times. Yes. Then how do we contend with the new normal? We're working hard, and the minister, former minister asked and spoke about the union. Then I agree with the breaching of protocols by Senator Sani. We have circulated this, and Mr. President has approved. All those who have no business in traveling will certainly have business to remain within the zones that we allocate. They will not enter our airports, not at all. The only person that can carry whoever he wants into the airport is Mr. President. Luckily, he doesn't fly from my airport. He flies from his own. So he's on his own. So anybody coming into the airport this time around, whether he is chief of this, chief of that, or he's minister this, minister that, or even our ogas, honorable members and distinguished senators, will not be carrying our aids into the airport any longer. We'll provide for how they will smoothly come and park the VIP. The VIP gets in and travel. Before I became minister and until now, I always pull my boxes into the airport and out for the last 5 years, and nothing has changed. I'm not as strong as some of these VIPs are, but I yet carry my bags. I put them, people see that we do it. For the last 5 years, we've been going through. So I think they should help us to take responsibility and ensure that they don't add to our problems for the country. Then passenger processing. Yes, we have protocols in place that they will be processed faster than you think. And I think the longer or the older the COVID guy becomes, the easier he is to deal with. So now we're seeing these tests that are coming out that you could do them within hours. The PCR has been improved tremendously. So we hope as we open, the new system of doing things will improve and will process faster. During the 9/11, when it came, the scanning machines that we had were so inefficient, it takes hours and hours for you to process. Now we have them that you can just put in everything. Before they'll tell you, remove your leg, remove your shoe, remove your hat, empty your pocket, know this, know that. But now what they're worried about, in fact, computer, everything. But most of them now, you can just put your bag with everything inside, except liquid. You just put, it's processed, and walk with your shoes. You're picked. So the more this guy becomes older, the better for us. We get him weaker and weaker and weaker. Program. You see, like I said, the thing about civil aviation is everything is written down like a book. So we have the airport security program, and that in itself is being pursued diligently, as well as the new health program. So both the health and security, which are two burdens, we must make sure that we are safe. We must make sure that we are also healthy to be able to fly. That is working hand in hand. We have developed the protocols, and they will be released from NCA, and those from FAN will also be released very soon. And it will be well communicated to the citizens to understand the new normal and how we travel. And I'm sure that you see that once you come to the airport, it will be easy for you to pass through. On that, any staff that is found and caught wanting, I'll be more than happy to show him the way out, because it's the lives of people that is in his hands. So we will ensure that people do what they're supposed to do. And by the way, that's the whole essence of training and retraining, training and retraining. I am sure, as I speak, perhaps under this regime of President Muhammadu Buhari, we have attended and improved the training of personnel on, or I'm being reminded, Mr. Chairman, just to announce to you that in a very short while, in about 5 minutes, the PTF press briefing to explain some of these protocols will come on. Thorny issue, but we are all ready for it. We've trained our staff. We will ensure that we follow it up for them to do the right thing. I think I have answered that all of on the pocket of the passenger. The question is arising from the fact that we are assuming that we are going to reduce the number of passengers in the cabin. The economics of the cabin is to the effect that what is the load factor per given sector? And what is the cost per passenger for that factor? I don't want to talk about revenue passenger kilometer, etc., because they're very technical. But to simplify it, as the protocol comes out, we are reviewing it with the airline operators. I will be very surprised if ticket prices will skyrocket beyond normal, beyond what the passenger can afford. I'll be very, very surprised, because the new things that are coming shows to us that we'll be able to operate those flights economically. Also, that the other one that I skipped, I forgot, tangential to the salaries, is what are we doing in terms of palliatives? Government has already spoken about that. The Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning has released economic sustainability plan, and on that plan, we've described how the palliatives will come. That will be unveiled soon. CBN is intervening, Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning is intervening, the ministry itself is intervening. We are having the greatest support that we need from government, and I'm sure everybody will be happy at the end of the day.